Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Sadly, technical issues, we can't hear from Honorable Benjamin Kalu, but the issues are still valid, and the little we heard from him was that he was already talking to stakeholders to see how the culture can be dealt with, the culture of believing that you can accuse somebody and without following any official rule of the land, the person can be sentenced to beating, or to be stripped naked. We've seen all sorts. They will either strip the person naked, or they beat the person up, or they just some embarrassing local punishment without any verdict. Nobody hearing the other side of the victim in the situation. Nima wasn't here yesterday, so I want to hear from you. What do you think?
Okay, so when I saw this story online, it provoked a lot of emotions in me, knowing a bit of African history. So in those days, people who had special skills were being killed in the West, in Europe. If you had any scientific background, you were called a witch, and they had different methods of dealing with witches there. So it's not new to Africans. But here, those who had special skills, healing skills, we revered. Suddenly, religion came. And to force people to accept the new ways, we demonized everything that was ours. So we're used to people wearing our native attires in our communities. In Benin, you will see them in the marketplace. It's either you greet them or you pass. There's nobody stopping your religion. And suddenly, the so-called clerics needed to drive home messages. And so they would act it out. They would demonize everything African. And I'm saying this here with all sense of carefulness, so that nobody misunderstands that I'm supporting something that is strange to my faith. But these are true facts. Clerics do it all the way till date. When they come in to make their market sale, you need to create a fear in people, and you have to find a victim. We had the Akwa Ibom episodes of children being made victims, where you just look at a small, innocent, defenseless child. Say this speaking, I wish. And the mother who birthed that child for years will not only abandon. We had the 9 inches nail story then back in NTA. We had different stories. We had the child who just suffered loss of both parents being accused. We had this history. I had friends who were called Eniton, Eniola, based on some background history of how. So a woman who dies at childbirth, the child is victimized. We had this so many. And sometimes when people have Chinese blues and they say they're in spirit, the person that they're accusing never gets to defend themselves. This danger, that was how my question kept happening on advocacy. And I'm surprised that the CP in Cross River says it's the first time he's seen it. So maybe because of his background, he's not from Cross River. I don't think an average Cross River will tell me that they've not heard of witches and false accusations.
Being lynched, yeah.
It's not the first time.
Not the first time, but it might not be. It might not be often. It might not even be coming. It might not be a frequent occurrence.
He was talking also from the past as
a police officer. So most times they don't even get out. Thank God for social media today. We have these stories that are being shared, but so they didn't used to get out. Marriages are broken. Families have scattered because, for God forbid, a mother is having menopausal hormonal issues, thyroid issues, and she's acting in a way that is difficult for people to understand. Her own children, not strangers, will condemn that woman. Some people will see vision and say, it's your mother that is behind. And your mother, my people will say now, your mother that look at you from small, when she could have stamped you, snuffed life out of you, she didn't do it. But now that you're an adult, you refuse to take responsibility for your decisions in life and own your own life, you start to blame. It's your mother. You know, these things, this name calling, these false accusations, we need to deal more seriously. What we have just seen, I saw the video, and I took my time to watch the video of that woman being beaten. Not one in a community. So you have a problem here. A problem of intelligence, or maybe that of fear as well. So maybe one person can even question that, but he doesn't want to join. Because see the case of Cross River, the woman who decided to show mercy was killed along with the woman accused. We need to deal with this from society up. And it should be from local governments, state governments, and leave federal government totally out of this. It is custom. It belongs to some cultures.
Still talking about the Abia situation, we have the police spokesperson, Abia State Command, Godfrey Ugbona, who will be joining us to shed more light on What happened in Abia State and what is being done to prevent further occurrence? Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Sir, we discussed this issue yesterday. We have discussed a bit again today, and our conversation is just, it's appalling to believe it's still happening, but it did. Where someone is accused of witchcraft and jungle justice was meted out on the person in form of beating. We've had jungle justice meted out in form of lynching. We've had jungle justice meted out in form of being stripped naked and made to walk around the market
Made
square.
to drink corpse water.
Or made to drink. All sorts of things. So my question to you, sir, is based on your what has been done concerning this situation in Abia State? We know that they said the First Lady of Abia has stepped into the situation. What is the update concerning this situation in Abia?
Thank you so much. First and foremost, any action of jungle justice is condemnable. Whichever way it is being meted out, it is condemnable. Every human being has his or her right to life. And so anyone taking out somebody's or sniffing out somebody's life from him or her is doing an evil which is condemnable under the criminal code. In the case of a certain woman, one Amarachi Okechi of Umueghu, Amaegbuato autonomous community in Bende Local Government area of the state, that is being alleged of witchcraft. Truly, what really transpired, though this matter has not been officially reported to the police, but from the news making the rounds, she is being suspected that she was responsible for the death of her husband through witchcraft. And the youth of the community now gathered and picked up this woman, held her, and subjected her to some barbaric conditions, like tying her hands to her back and flogging her mercilessly, losing sight of the fact that she is a mother to some people. But to the glory of God, that woman has been rescued and taken to the hospital where she is receiving treatment. It took a whole lot of intervention from well-meaning Abians, including the wife of the state governor, Dr. Mrs. Nkpa, to get this woman out. As I am speaking, even the member representing that area in the House of Assembly went there himself with orders to dialogue with those people so that they can release her for her to take medication in order not to lose her life. They held her, wanting her to reverse whatever thing she has gone to a native doctor to do, which took away the life of her husband. And they're also suspecting that she's responsible for the death of some other people. But all these are things we are hearing. It's only when the members of the family come to the police station today, as they promised, that we will get to know the true facts and know the possible way to go about it.
CP, sir, there's also the culture of swearing oaths.
Spokesperson.
Okay, sorry, the spokesperson of Abia State Police Command. So there's also the culture of swearing oaths where a woman is accused and she has to come and clear her name traditionally. And, you know, they have substances they mix where they are compelled to drink. What would be the consequence where a woman's life is taken because of the substance she was compelled to swallow to declare, to establish her innocence culturally?
You see, all these things are not acceptable by the Constitution of our country. But I know that different or several communities and people have their diverse cultures and traditions. But in this recent time, there has been a campaign against all these situations where not only women are being subjected to one form of torture or the other, or barbaric act in order to clear him or herself over one deed done to another.
Okay, so what would you say are the challenges that, you know, the communities or the police advocacy groups are facing in trying to enlighten people? Because there has to have been a job done up until 2022. So what is it that why is it hard to help to enlighten people to a different way, to say a different way of handling things?
You see, there are people who are so much glued to their cultures and traditions.
Yep.
And it takes the intervention of NGOs and all of them, well-meaning Nigerians, president generals and the traditional rulers who are more enlightened to instill all these things into them. For them to know that the certain stages, we have passed certain stages. Maybe in those days, you may have had, there are some areas where if a woman gives birth to twins, a set of twins, that the person might be killed. So we have passed that era. They should try to imbibe the present state of things by saying by things that have been said by, or maybe some areas where you see this issue of Osuka system. All those things are becoming things of the past. Religion has come in. Let us imbibe what the religions have brought to us in order to stop any form of barbaric act or treatment on one another. So that let them know truly that people are entitled, or that there's what we call human rights. Human rights. It cuts across every person. So let them not see that is limited to a particular set of people. It is for every person once you are a human being.
So because you raised the issue of religion now, what will you say about religious inciting of, you know, the accusations in the first place, where a cleric, so-called, is the one accusing a family member of being at fault or being responsible for the travails or trials that one of their family members is going through, just to win them into his fold or her fold, and then starts that inciting treatment?
Let me even add to
Well,
that. So, sorry, sir.
That is why we want people against accepting religions that, even though they're entitled to, you are entitled to whatever thing you want to worship. But you look well before you live. Because I know there are certain people in certain religions that incite all these things. But let them know that dialogue, call whoever that you feel has erred. Let the person clear him or herself, giving fair hearing, not just trying to intimidate, subjecting that person to any form of ill treatment.
Yes.
Instead of doing that. There are many ways, like this issue now of rescuing this woman, it took dialogue. It took dialogue to rescue her. So dialogue goes a long way in resolving some issues.
So I wanted to harp a bit on Nima's question, in that if a religious leader, a community person, in the case of this story, a fellow housewife, a fellow wife married into the family, points accusing finger, and then it leads to lynching or jungle justice, or some form of barbaric activity against the victim, what would be the action carried? What would be the case against the person who incited it? So whether it's a religious leader or any individual, or a family member, you pointed finger and the person ended up dead. What will happen to the person
assaulted?
There are what we call parties to an offense. Parties to an offense. If there is any such thing, all the people who are responsible, who played one role or the other in the commission of that act, will have their own cases to answer. So the best thing is for all and sundry to avoid anything capable of resulting in such jungle justice.
Okay, so that brings relief to us. So I would like to know, in this case in Abia State, how many arrests have been made by the police on this issue?
I told you that today the people are coming to report officially to the police. It is the reports they will give to us that will help us to know how to go about the people that committed the act.
Okay.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll still continue with this conversation, and we'll be having the Honorable back on the show. So stay with us. We'll be right back.